was kind of.
Good afternoon. It's January 7th, 2019. The 26th meeting of the 23rd Council will come to order. All councilors are present this evening. Councilor Betten will be here shortly. Next item we have is the moment of silence. So we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Harris. A moment of silence led by the pledge, by Councilor Harris, sorry. Thank you. Pardon me on that. I had Councilor Betten down for that, and he's actually not here yet. So Civic Plaza parking passes are provided for members of the public. You can obtain a parking pass from council staff at the sign-up table. The council will take a break approximately 7 p.m. this evening if needed. We want tonight's proceedings to be as civil and respectful as possible. Please do not make any personal attacks, and please do no applause or other outbursts during the meeting. The meeting will go a lot smoother if we are respectful of one another. Next item we have is proclamations and presentations. The first proclamation we have this evening is recognizing the isotopes, and we have Mr. John Traub, who is the general manager of the isotopes, here to show off some mighty nice awards that they just received. So I will start by reading the proclamation, and then I'll have you gentlemen say a couple of words. Whereas the Albuquerque Isotopes were the recipients of 2 highly regarded National Minor League Baseball awards in December, and whereas on December 9th, the Albuquerque Isotopes received the 45th annual John H. Johnson President's Award at the Baseball Winter Meeting Banquet. And whereas the John H. President's Award has been presented annually since 1974 to honor the complete baseball franchise. And whereas the Albuquerque Isotopes received this honor based on their financial stability, contributions to baseball in the community, and promotion of the baseball industry. And whereas since opening the Isotopes Park in 2003, the team has been a model of consistency at the gates, finishing in the top 10 in all of minor league baseball in attendance each year, and finishing in the top 5 in the Pacific Coast League each year, despite being the 11th most populated city in the league. And in addition of 4 new baseball ballparks in the league over that span. And whereas on December 10th, the Mariachi de Nuevo Mexico, aka Albuquerque Isotopes, were also announced the winners of the Minor League Baseball inaugural Copa de Diversión Fun Cup during the opening session of the baseball winter meetings in Las Vegas. And whereas this season-long event series competition focused on which franchise best implemented minor league baseball's Hispanic outreach initiative. And whereas Albuquerque Isotopes Mariachi de Nuevo Mexico promotion was chosen the best of all 33 teams who participated in the competition in 2018. And whereas the team's launch of the Mariachi de Nuevo Mexico and minor league baseball Copa de Diversión program helped the club set a single game attendance record of 16,975 people on May 5th. 2018, and in the franchise records for merchandise sales, and introduced a diverse segment of Albuquerque's population to Isotopes baseball. And whereas Ken Young has invested over $5 million in the park to enhance the fan experience through new video boards, party areas, a kid play zone, and has paid over $28 million back to the city of Albuquerque in stadium rent and surcharges. And whereas in addition to the Isotope success at the turnstiles, the club established a reading program that included over 6,000 children in 250 Albuquerque schools, and in 2018 alone made donations to over 250 charitable organizations and nonprofits. And whereas Mr. John Traub and his wonderful staff at Isotopes Parks were instrumental in delivering 16 years of consistent, family-friendly entertainment to over millions of fans that have passed through the Isotope Park gates. Be it proclaimed that the city of Albuquerque, be it proclaimed that the council, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque, hereby congratulates the Albuquerque Isotopes Mariachi de Nuevo Mexico for their outstanding, nationally recognized achievements and their resounding acclaim for hitting a home run for Albuquerque. Congratulations.
Thank you, Madam President, City Council, and citizens. Just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for the support that we have had in this community since the Isotopes came to town back in 2003. And the hardware that we were proudly able to bring home in December is just a little bit of an indication of just how successful this private-public partnership between the City of Albuquerque and the ball club has been. It's really a model for other cities to follow, and we're just so grateful that we've had such a great relationship with City Council, with the Department of Municipal Development, and the public since we started here. 9 million fans over 16 years, going into 17 seasons, coming up starting in April, actually starting with an exhibition game with the Colorado Rockies in March. So just so much goodness is happening with the Isotopes, and we're just so honored that and thankful that you presented us with this proclamation today. Certainly celebrating things that are good in our community is good for all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Traub. Congratulations again. It's just outstanding job that you guys do there at the Isotopes Park. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Councilor Borrego, a proclamation recognizing... Oh, I'm sorry. Can you come up and receive your proclamation? I forgot. Okay, now next is Councilor Borrego's proclamation recognizing the 2019 Women's March.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we have some folks that are coming up. Would you just introduce yourselves, please?
Hello, everybody. My name is Samia Assad. I am chair of the New Mexico Women's March.
My name's Lisa Padilla, and I'm a vice chair.
Hi, I'm Allie Marie, and I'm also volunteering.
Thank you, ladies, for being here this evening. So with that, let's see. Whereas the New Mexico Women's March participates in and celebrates women's rights and responsibilities in concert with women's rights advocates across our nation to provide education and entry points for grassroots organizers, and Councilor Pena.
Whereas the New Mexico Women's March believes that gender justice is synonymous with racial and economic justice, so that our society's women are free to care and nurture themselves and their families in safe and healthy environments, and
whereas women deserve to live full and healthy lives free of all forms of violence against their bodies, deserving reproductive freedom and rights, and
whereas New Mexico's Women's March declares that the LGBTQIA rights are human rights, and
whereas New Mexico Women's March upholds that workers' rights shall be provided for fully in the economy, and that the civil rights are a birthright, thereby supporting immigrant and refugee rights as human rights regardless of status of country of origin, and
whereas New Mexico Women's March supports disability rights and believes that all women's issues are issues faced by women with disabilities, and
whereas New Mexico Women's March supports a belief that every person and every community in our nation is entitled to clean water, clean air, and access to the enjoyment of public lands and the environment and climate must be protected, be it proclaimed that the council, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque, hereby recognizes that January 20th, 2019, as New Mexico Women's March as a vital movement for New Mexico women, their families, and communities. If you'd like to say something, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It does my heart so much good to hear both of you say this to women of color. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, City Councilwoman Gibson, last year for supporting us. And I'd like to say, just to add to what you've said and reiterate that women's rights are human rights. Please join us January 20th. Thank you.
And if you would, ladies, would you like to say anything? If not, would you like to come up and receive the proclamation?
thank you. Next, we have a presentation from Tom Murdoch and Brett Raymond from High Desert Residential Owners Association. They will be presenting a plaque to the Albuquerque Fire Rescue.
Madam President, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this evening. My name is Tom Murdoch. I am the board president for the High Desert Residential Owners Association. With me tonight is one of my colleague board members, Dr. Janet Brierly, and we are joined by several members of the Albuquerque Fire Rescue Department. We are here tonight to recognize and express our appreciation to Albuquerque Fire Rescue and Wildland Coordinator Lieutenant Brian Fox for their response to a wildfire which occurred in the open space along Elena Gallegos Street in High Desert last May. AFR responded quickly, sending 16 pieces of apparatus, 2 EMS units, and 40 firefighters. They also coordinated with Bernalillo County and the Forest Service. Approximately 9 acres were burned, several homes sustained minor damage, and 1 home did suffer significant damage. The prompt action by AFR minimized the burned area and prevented any loss of life. After the incident, Lieutenant Fox met with our board of directors and a group of residents to discuss the fire and offer suggestions to help us prevent and be better prepared for any future fires. High Desert's governing documents require that we maintain a natural landscape. As a result of these meetings with Lieutenant Fox, the association has modified our guidelines for sustainability to more clearly define and encourage homeowners to create and maintain defensible space around their homes. We had a plaque prepared for the occasion. My colleague, Dr. Brierly, will read what's on it for you.
Presented to Albuquerque Fire Rescue in recognition of its outstanding efforts during the Elena Gallegos fire on the 15th of May 2018. AFR's swift response protected lives and minimized property damage. AFR's continuing efforts better prepare us for future wildfires. With gratitude and appreciation, High Desert Residential Owners Association.
On behalf of the High Desert Residential Owners Association, we'd like to present this plaque to Lieutenant Fox and the AFR with our heartfelt gratitude for their efforts to contain the fire with no loss of life and minimal damage to the High Desert residences. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know if either one of you, the chief or lieutenant, would like to say a couple of words.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you very much. It's always great to have the appreciation of the public. I have the best firefighters in the country working in Albuquerque Fire Rescue. I have an excellent wildland coordinator. We have 4 wildland stations right now, and thank you, Councilor Borrego, because the brush truck that you helped purchase, now we have 5 stations that are wildland stations. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant, did you want to say a couple of words? You're the man of the hour.
As the chief said, we have the best men and women of Albuquerque Fire Rescue in the nation working for our department, and you know this is credit to them. You know we support them in their efforts to aid them in successful operations in their daily tasks as men and women of the department. And you know, Rescue 16 and Engine 16, who were the primary response units in that area, were both on other emergencies, and they were able to clear those and get up there as fast as they could. And to do what we did in that amount of time, as fast as that fire moved, and you know, to not lose any structures is credit to them and the work that they do each and every day. And something else the crews did from Station 16 later that night was delivered a baby in the back of Rescue 16. So, you know, we do a lot, and again, credit to the personnel in the field, because this is due to their efforts. So, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Lieutenant. We really appreciate your work, and good leaders always recognize their staff, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Next item we have is item 4, economic development discussion. There's none. Item 5, administration question and answer period. Counselor, are there any questions for the administration? Counselor Gibson, followed by Counselor Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question for the administration. I'm not really sure who this will go to, but my question is about the negotiations that the city has entered with P&M in getting us to the point where we can have all of the street lights changed out.
Madam President and Councilor Gibson, we have been working with P&M for the better part of 9 months to work on converting all of their street lights to LED lights. As you all know, CityLume, who had the contract with the city, finished converting all of the city-owned lights at the end of October. And so all the city lights now have been converted. We are in the final, if you will, negotiations with P&M to have their lights converted. They issued an RFP to select a vendor to make the conversion happen. And we're, I would say, within a week away from having an agreement and on beginning the conversion process from the Public Service Company of New Mexico.
Please, a follow-up. Okay, so that's helpful. I understand that that it was in the hands of DMD, that Mr. Greg Smith, the attorney over there, had it, and now, of course, he's retired now. Has someone taken that on?
Madam President and Councilor Gibson, that's correct. Greg Smith was doing the legal work and in his role as a deputy of director. He's since retired, so Kevin Sarasoff and Pat Montoya are taking the lead on completing the work. And it was literally down to negotiating the last couple of lines in a contract.
Right.
So it is, it will be done very shortly.
Okay, all right.
And we'll be happy to get back to you and give you more detail as when we get through that process.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Counselor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. And I was wondering if the next council meeting, if we could have an update on the senior games, on the planning and the fundraising, just a short presentation, if it's okay with Madam President, at the next city council meeting.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Counselor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to first acknowledge bear with me, Madam President, and just acknowledge and say thank you, Mr. Real, in particular your departments. I know I got to speak with Director Whalen this evening and got to hear an update of how solid waste was able to catch up over the holidays in the snow. 2 days later, they've recovered in almost a week's worth of back work in some of our neighborhoods, and that's a tremendous effort by those folks, and we wanted to say thank you. I know you were also out in the snow in the plow trucks yourself, and DMD did a great job responding to that blizzard, once in a decade blizzard, and I want to acknowledge the work that our workers did to get out and do that when everybody else got to stay home.
Madam President and Councilor, just for full disclosure, it was either stay home and hang out with a bunch of children or get on the smoke plow and go do some real work. But no, thank you so much, and and thank you all for obviously for appropriating the funds that make it all work for City Hall. And our staff at DMD did a great job, and they're to be commended for that work. But yeah, thanks for the recognition. Appreciate it.
And Madam President, if I could follow up one more.
Sure.
Ms. Nair, if you would help us a little bit. We saw over the holiday another tragic story about another child that we lost, apparently some connection to his parents, and there was some information that maybe APD had done a welfare check based on the information they had. I don't think it's our place yet to prejudge where that goes, and it's certainly not for us to do that here, but I think given this administration's history of working to implement a years-old child abuse protocols and the ambitious work they've been doing on internal affairs to follow up on these allegations, I first want to say I commend the administration right away for saying we want to find out the facts. But I wonder if you could help us by giving an update to this council in that list of other cases that we had spoken about previously, say maybe in a few councils once we have more information about sort of where that case stands and how APD is continuing to implement those new child abuse prevention protocols with CYFD and others to help us ensure that we're asking the right questions and that we're funding the right tools that you need in the future.
Madam President, Councilor Davis, we'd be happy to give that update. And as you know, staffing is always a challenge, especially in those difficult units like Crimes Against Children unit. So you did tee us up. We will be asking for more money for those divisions as well. So happy to do that at the next meeting if you'd like.
Councilor Borrego.
Thank you, Madam President. Regarding that comment from Councilor Davis, in addition to that information, I would like to hear how APD works with the state of New Mexico and how we would, with the new governor, how we would be moving forward. So could you add that to your presentation, please?
Council President Pena and Councilor Borrego, yes, of course, we'd be happy to do that. I don't believe that a new cabinet secretary has been named yet for Children, Youth, and Families. Oh, it was today. Okay, great. So next time would be a great time to do that update.
Thank you. And I just had one, I guess, kind of comment question was just in relation to the biopark. I know, I was so excited because we're going to make left-hand turns. I talked to somebody in the administration, and we're going to carry that dialogue a little further. I know they stopped allowing the left-hand turns because they were saying that people were accessing businesses that were charging to park, and it was creating some kind of havoc. But I just want to make sure that it's real clear that the people that were making left-hand turns, they turn into the biopark in no way could affect that, because once you turn into the biopark, you can't access other business. So next year, I'm just hoping that we look at barricading the road as they did, but not the left-hand turn, so into the future. So thank you. We will move on to item 6, which is the journal. Councilor Borrego.
Thank you, Madam President. I move approval of the December 17th, 2018 journal.
There's a motion, a second, for approval of the December 17th journal. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is item 7, communications and introductions. Are there any changes to the letter of introduction? I move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing EC 312 and referring it to Finance and Government Operations. EC 312 is submission of the 5-year forecast. Second. There's a motion and a second for EC 312. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing R 120 and referring it to Committee of the Whole R120 is approving the programming of funds and projects for the 2019 through 2028 decade plan for capital improvements, including the 2019 two-year capital budget.
There's a motion and a second for R120. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Counselor Borrego.
Thank you, Madam President. I move approval of the letter of introduction.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the letter of introduction. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is item 8, reports of the committee. There are none. We will move on to deferrals and withdrawals. Councilors, are there any deferrals or withdrawals at this time? Councilor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. O-18-36, amending the public purchases ordinance. I move a deferral for 30 days.
There's a motion and a second for deferral of O-36 until February 4th. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Did you have another one? No? My notes show you have one more. O3? Okay.
Madam President, I'm going to do
Okay.
that and when the bill comes up.
Next item is item 9, the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? For the individuals on tonight's consent agenda who are being appointed to serve on a board or commission, please stand up if you're in the audience, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Councilor Borrego.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item, we're on 10, general public comments. There will be a 2-minute time limit. The light on the podium will be green for the first minute and a half. Then the bell will ring and the light will turn yellow, indicating you have 30 seconds remaining to wrap up your comments. At 2 minutes, the light will turn red and ring to indicate that your time is up. Our first speaker is Mr. Don Schrader, followed by Rudolph Serrano, followed by Downey X. If you guys can make your way to the front and be ready to speak after Mr. Schrader.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of committing sexual assault. Drinking alcohol increases the danger of being sexually assaulted. Many people who were taught that having sex with anyone they're not married to is sin drink booze to turn off their shame and guilt. Many men who were taught that men having sex with men is sin. Many women who were taught that women having sex with women is sin drink booze to turn off their shame and guilt. Booze lowers immunity to sexually transmitted diseases. Booze lowers the use of birth control, so booze causes unwanted pregnancies. Booze lowers the sex hormone testosterone. I aim never to do anything to anyone in sex that would cause him to hate me or fear me. All sex should be wanted and enjoyed by those having sex. I condemn the sale of booze at UNM. I urge all community leaders to pledge publicly to drink no booze. Stop celebrating new local breweries. A recently released worldwide study in 195 nations found there is no safe level for drinking booze. There is no safe level for drinking booze. I drink no booze.
Thank you. Mr. Serrano.
Councilor President Clarissa, all councilors, congratulations for those that won in elections, and welcome to the new years. It's a positive year. One of the things of last year, at the end of the year, I was not able to celebrate with those that won in the Democratic Party because I was arrested because somebody put in my Facebook anti-Semitic things. It got hacked, and before you know it, I was taking evaluations, and it came out my race for 2020. And the doctor says, Rudolph, you're delusional. You know, there's no way that not knowing any way in Washington you're gonna win. It's like, yes, but we have a delusional man in Washington. You know, so I think I have a chance. And I did the first poll. And this is the results of the first poll. I'm 10% ahead of Joe Biden, 50% ahead of Bernie Sanders, 80% ahead of Beto Burke, 25% ahead of Elizabeth Warren, 40% ahead of Hillary Clinton. This has been a nobody. The people just want change in Washington. They rather have the red nose than any of those clowns that we have in Washington. So I want to tell you this because I want you to start taking me serious because it's going to be a serious year. And cutting short into the issues, you know, we have those bags. You know, I love the idea of changing from plastic bags from China and making some bags here. You know, but let's do it with our revolution or my revolution. I call it our revolution, evolution now because revolution is against the federal government. But let's get together, make our own business, do our own bags. There's like $2 million in sales in bags if we do it as a business. That way we don't turn socialist. So let's put that on the table. I want to sit with the guys proposing it, and let's do it. Let's just do it in 2019. Let's not wait for 2020. Let's just make a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Downey X, followed by Shanna Oberg, followed by Kea Tooley. You can make your way to the front, Mr.
So, yeah, you were also proud of yourself when you gave Netflix $5 million of taxpayers' money. Another glaring example of corporate welfare. The word must be out that Albuquerque City Council is an easy target and will fall for just about anything. But what you don't know is that Netflix is broke. Netflix pioneered movie streaming in 2008. It had no competition. It now has the competition of Amazon and the future competition of Disney+. Netflix will lose most of its content because Disney owns it. Netflix makes a small profit, but its debt was exploded to 71% this year to $8.3 billion. Netflix stock once traded at $400 a share in 2008. It's dropped to $275 a share, losing 35% of its value. Now Netflix can do one of three things: borrow billions and be buried in debt, raise subscriptions dramatically, or cut down on their new content. This business model is unsustainable. I got this information from Forbes Business Magazine article written by Stephen McBride titled, "Netflix's Worst Nightmare is Coming True." Netflix dangles that red meat of jobs in front of you, and you jump on it like a pack of hungry hyenas, with you not knowing that the meat is rotten. Note, Netflix 2 CEOs got $30 million in the year-end bonuses. Albuquerque City Council should take an Economics 101 class, and maybe you won't be so easily duped by these fly-by-night economic development scams.
Thank you, sir. Next person we have is Shanna Oberg.
So I just want to complain. I just think the criminal element has grabbed a hold of the city and made it hard for some of us to live in areas like East San Jose. I get constant trash thrown in my alleyway. I mean, I got a trailer load last week, and you know, I get heroin needles, feces, and just really disgusting stuff that, you know, we as citizens, I understand, but you call 311, there's no accountability. I can call 311 and put ticket in, and they'll say, oh, they'll call solid waste, but there's no accountability. I look on the app just now, I can't find those tickets I put in. There's no, okay, well, solid waste says they will or will not pick it up. The only reason that trash got picked up was I got the mayor to pick it up, but I think some of these alleyways that we know are problem alleyways in the city, especially by the elementary school I live by, I mean, I think it should be more concerned and blocked off. You know the homeless and the heroin addicts hang out back in those. And I feel unsafe in my own home. I bought a HUD home, and I'm a good person in a bad neighborhood, and I don't want to be pushed out of that neighborhood because the police don't respond. I've been put on hold, 242 cops. 311 responds way quicker than cops or 911 does, especially in my neighborhood, and they don't even respond. When people are walking around with shotguns, I do expect some kind of services. I do pay, you know, taxes, and I just feel we could work harder as a community and to stop this criminal element. I worked at Joy Junction last year and did a lot of background checks. And doing so, I was shocked at how many people have 3 pages of charges and 95% of those get dismissed. And I saw it time after time, looking at people. So I wanted to express my anger. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Breton.
Just to respond to the speaker, and we received your email and are paying attention to it. I don't recall the mention of the 911 call, but if you have a tracking number or anything like that on that, we would be happy to follow through on that. With regard to solid waste and alley cleanup, we did reach out to the solid waste department. I don't know if they have any comment at this point, Mr. Whelan. Many people, and I mentioned this, I think, in my response to you by email, the technicalities of responsibility for alleys make it complicated, without question. But I share your concern. And I think certain alleys, if somebody's letting weeds grow behind their yard in an alley, that's one thing. If there's dumping going on and we've got an area that is a problem, where it's repeated problems of dumping like you're experiencing, I think we've got to try to figure out some special remedies. So that's something that Director Whelan and I are going to be talking about and try to see whether we can be more responsive with regard to that dumping issue. As far as APD, that is a whole different animal.
I did look into some other cities, and some other cities do have
Yep.
monthly
If you want to come down so that people can at least hear what you're responding.
Some other cities do have monthly programs, or once a month, citizens can put the larger trash. So say that big bed that was dumped back there, I would have that ability to put it, and sometimes they have quarterly, but there's a lot of other cities that have better ways.
Sure.
So I just.
So, just so you understand, because I know that you deal with probably an alley that's, one of the more difficult in the city.
It is.
But we've got to be careful about our policy because there still has to be some responsibility on the part of the owners who adjoin an alley, and we don't want to set a bad precedent. But at the same time, Director Whelan's sitting right there in the gray coat, so talk to him, and we're going to talk to you some more about how we can serve you better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Breton. I'm having a similar issue in my area as well. Next speaker we have is Kaya Tulay. Tula? Oh, welcome.
Hi, my name is Kaya. I am 8 years old. I am a member of the Mount Mahogany Global Warming Express Club. First, I want to thank the council members who have already approved the plastic bag ban. For the rest of you, this is why I want to ban plastic bags. Plastic is rarely reused and hurts animals and pollutes our environment. And it takes so long to decompose. Let's get rid of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaya, for being here. Next speaker we have is Sage Pizzo, followed by Suki Wampler, followed by Laura Gloria.
We're going to skip Sage.
Oh, we're skipping Sage?
Yeah, move on to Suki.
Okay, Suki. Welcome, Suki.
Hi, my name is Suki. I am 8 years old, and I am a member of the Global Warming Express Club at the Mount Mahogany Community School. I spoke in the last city council meeting about banning plastic bags, and I would like to say thanks to the council members who were willing to support this bill, and I would like to thank you for even adding a ban of styrofoam and plastic straws. I hope all of you will vote to clean up our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going back to Sage, or we're completely skipping her?
And Lori is.
And Lori as well. So Camilla Feebleman, followed by Tad Naminsky, followed by Alan Dewicki.
So this is Sage, and she said she'd just come up with me and help me say my piece as well. So I'm Camilla Feibelman, and I just first wanted to thank the council for your trust in me to join your Water Protection Advisory Council. I've never done anything like that before, so I'm really excited about it. But I also wanted to recognize Sage and her friends. They're part of something called the Global Warming Express, which is fairly recently a program of the Sierra Club, where kids get together once a week to learn about the climate and the science around it, and then to figure out what to take action on. So their idea of having a plastic bag ban comes from them. You know, it was nothing that we had thought of. We'd heard about other places doing it, and they've really taken the lead. So Sage, do you want to add anything? You're good? No. Okay, all right. And how old are you?
8. I'm at 9.
You're 9, and what grade?
3rd.
3rd grade. And would you like to see us get rid of plastic bags gunking up everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Sage. Councillor Davis has a comment.
Ms. Sage and Ms. Feibelman, first congratulations on your appointment tonight, and congrats on the organizing work you're teaching them early. Sage, I just wanted to say to you and everybody else, you know, we've been talking about this for quite a while, but I have to say, when you all came down and asked us and brought some bags you had gotten out of the Bosque and other places, some of us spent the holidays sitting around figuring out how we could make something work to make it work for you. And so it's because you guys stood up down here that we got out of our seats and did something about it. And so I know you're in school, and you should be, but if you want to join us tomorrow at 10:30 at Civic Plaza, we're going to have a press conference. We're going to show off some of the trash that we picked up that we think we can prevent, and then we hope y'all will come back next month when we have a hearing on it. We hope it'll be next month, so that we can take more testimony when we have more time. So we invite you to join us tomorrow.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Sage. Next speaker we have is Mr. Tad Naminsky.
Thank you. My name is Ted Niemiecki. What I want to talk today about our rights. How many rights we have? I am talking about our United States constitutional rights. You own for example, you own something. For example, car, house, driver's license, of course, car registration, birth certificate, marriage license, etc., etc. What I'm talking? It is contain your signature. You must to sign it. You know what is it? This means contract. You giving your rights to corporate, city of Albuquerque, and other government, corporation, your rights. Well, very interesting, isn't it? Well, now, then what's happening? You have to watch it, because sooner or later, they're gonna get you. Anyway, you surrendering, finally you have to surrender your property. That is property rights, and so on. This government is operating city council under city corporate charter. What we expected, how constitutional that can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Naminsky. Next, the final speaker is Alan Dewicki.
Hello, I'm here to support the proposed ordinance to reduce single-use plastics. And I mean, I get it that you're going to get a lot of people saying it's a free country, we want to do what we want to do. Businesses, individuals are going to say that. I had somebody just before I came, I told him I was going to speak on this, and he said, oh, I like plastic, you know. And that's great, but sometimes the government has to step in where there's somebody that's being hurt, the public is being hurt, the planet is being hurt, and the government really does need to step up into that role and take that role. I mean, believe me, I'm no socialist, so I get that, but sometimes it is necessary. And I mean, when plastic was invented, it was the thing that was going to save the world, and it is wonderful. It does wonderful things, but it is destroying us too. So we do need to take a stand and do something about it. If people would do it on their own, that would be the best way, but they don't. I mean, I don't know how many people have said to me, oh, did you hear about that big island of plastic out in the ocean? Or did you see the 60 Minutes special a couple weeks ago about all the plastic? Oh, it's terrible, it's terrible. But then I still see them loading up their plastic bag at the restaurant with their styrofoam containers, or rolling out their cart out of the grocery store with a dozen double-bagged plastic bags with 3 items in it. So people are not going to do the right thing, and so we have to step up and do the right thing for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. That was our final speaker. Next, we are on item 11, announcements. There will be a City Council study session on Thursday, January 10th at noon in the Council Committee Room on the 9th floor. There will be an intergovernmental Legislative Relations Committee meeting on Saturday, January 19th at 9 a.m. in the Council Committee Room on the 9th floor. Councilor Harris.
Thank you. Is the announcement? Okay.
Yes.
There will be a Finance and Government Operations Committee meeting on Monday, January 14th at 5 p.m. in the Council Committee Room on the 9th floor.
Councilor Benton.
There will be a Land Use Planning and Zoning Committee meeting on Wednesday, January 16th at 5 p.m. in the Council Committee Room on the 9th floor.
Thank you. Next, we are on item 12, public hearings. AC 17, David Villar appeals a decision of the zoning hearing examiner. Mr. Melendez.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. The issue in this appeal is whether a side yard setback of 0 feet in a single-family residential zone should be approved because the encroaching structure is already built. It was built without a permit, and now it would be difficult to remove. The zoning hearing examiner denied the variance request, finding that there were no actual special circumstances that could justify the requested variance, and to the extent there were, they were self-imposed because the structure was built without a permit and without checking the setback requirement. The council referred this matter to the land use hearing officer, who determined that the zoning hearing examiner did not err in its decision to deny the variance, and now recommends that the zoning hearing examiner's determination that the variance be denied should be affirmed. The council is not hearing from the parties tonight. It's only considering whether to accept or reject the recommendation of its land use hearing officer. If you have questions about this appeal, I'll do my best to help get the answers to those based on the record. If we cannot get to a vote on this tonight for final action, then we'll schedule it for a hearing at a later date.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you. Councilor Jones pointed to me. So is the proper motion to be accept or reject the opinion or the ruling of the land use hearing officer?
Madam President, Councilor Harris, that's correct. It would be to accept or reject the recommendation and findings to the extent you find those acceptable.
So accept or reject the conclusion and findings?
The recommendation and findings.
I'll make a motion to accept the findings and the findings as well as the conclusion of the land use hearing officer.
Second. There's a motion and a second to accept the land use hearing officer's recommendations and findings. All those in favor, are there any questions from this council? Councilor Benton.
Just a quick question for Mr. Melendez. As I understand it, the appellant constructed something without a building permit and is now wanting a variance to allow that.
Madam President, Councilor Benton, that's correct.
Thank you, Madam President.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the land use hearing officer's recommendations and findings. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on item 13, approvals. We have EC 215, Mayor's appointment of Kara Grant to the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. I move confirmation. Is there anyone signed up to speak on this? No? Any comments from the administration, questions? No? Okay, so there's a motion and second. Do we have Kara Grant here? Is she in the audience? No? So we have a motion and a second for confirmation of EC 215. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item under approvals is B, OC 20, selection of the Inspector General. The Accountability and Government's Oversight Committee interviewed candidates and submitted the following 3 names in ranked order. The first person is Vicky Duran. Second person is Richard Allen Coe. The third person is Kenneth Bramlett. Is there anyone signed up to speak on OC 20? No? So the council rules provide a procedure for the appointments made by the council, and we are following that procedure this evening. The ballots will be distributed by staff with the list of candidates in the same ranked order as submitted by the AGO committee. Councilors are to indicate their order, and I'll ask them to speak, I know that. Will indicate their order of preference with 1 for your first preference, 2 for your second preference, and 3 for your third preference. After councilors complete their ballot, staff will collect the ballots and tally the results. So do we have the members here, and are they prepared to speak? The first person would be Vicky Duran.
Good evening, Madam President, honorable council members. My name is Vicky Duran. I'm a lifelong member of Albuquerque, New Mexico. I started out my career in 1985 with the Albuquerque Police Department, working my way through, the detective unit, spending most of my time in the homicide unit. During that time, I had the unfortunate experience of handling high-profile cases, so I'm familiar with the pressure involved in stressful cases, such as the Hollywood video homicides, which I was the case agent of, and the absolute necessity for credible, ethical, prosecutable cases. Those cases resulted in life sentences, of course. In 1996, I was elected as the New Mexico Police and Sheriff's Association Officer of the Year, and a lot of that circulated around the Hollywood video homicides and the solving of that case. I took a position in 1999 with the New Mexico Attorney General's office, where we traveled the state assisting law enforcement entities and district attorneys' offices that didn't have the resources to prosecute their high-profile cases. So we lended attorneys and investigation helped them prosecute these cases. Those cases ranged from corruption, tax evasion, homicides, police shootings, and things of that nature. In 2005, I took a position with the New Mexico Gaming Control Board, and this is where I gained my experience as an auditor and a compliance professional, and I gained my CFE, my Certified Fraud Examiner's certification. I oversaw a department of law enforcement officers across the state who enacted compliance and audits and criminal investigation, financial criminal investigation when necessary, to keep gaming entities into regulatory compliance. I believe that routine compliance checks can foster improvement, but when you have an administrative investigation as well as a criminal investigation, there's a significant difference between an interview and an interrogation, or an inspection and an interview and interrogation, or an inspection and an investigation. So those are, I think, important in this position. In January of 2014, I took a position with the Downs Racetrack and Casino, leaving public service for the first time. It was 6 months after they opened. I was asked to go in and help restructure and work with the security and surveillance and other units within the organization. I ended up as the audit and compliance director, ultimately. Spending 5 years there, I had many successes there, but I'm a public servant at heart, and I'm ready to get back into public service. I have maintained my law enforcement career or certification for 31 years unblemished. And I've been separated from the city for 19 years now, so I have no professional or personal relationships that would cause me influence or independence in this position. In my 17 years with the state, at no point did I work with the current administration staff, so there's no influence there. I have a master's degree from the University of New Mexico in public administration and a bachelor's degree from University of Phoenix. Madam President, councilors, if given the opportunity, I would love to provide the IGO longevity. Albuquerque is my home for which I care, and I will work diligently to obtain and safeguard the public trust to the city of Albuquerque and to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Richard Allen Coe.
Madam President and councilors, thank you for this opportunity to include the Accountability and Government Oversight Committee for the opportunity to be here to fill the IG role for the city of Albuquerque. I'm here basically because I have a lifetime passion of public service. And this past year, I wrapped up 28 years of service in the United States Air Force, retiring as a Brigadier General and retiring in the job of the Inspector General of Air Combat Command in Langley, Virginia. A little bit about me that's not in the resume. I've been married 29 years to my wife, Paula. She's a high school teacher here in town. By day and by night, she's a college professor in distance learning. We have 2 children. Our son, Ryan, is a junior at Penn State, and our daughter, Jenna, is a freshman at the University of New Mexico. During my career, we moved 21 times. The last 4 out of 6 years I spent away from my family. We decided it was time to promote to civilian, and we chose Albuquerque as our permanent residence. And the reason why, not just for the great food, the great weather, the art, the outdoor activities, or the baseball. It's really, as we learned in Hawaii, for a sense of ohana, there's a really close family and community spirit here that our family really values. I have experience commanding 3 different commanding officer positions, which includes self-inspection of our own unit and 2 distinct assignments as an inspector general in the military. My strengths are leadership, I'm a quick learner, and I'm excellent in strategic planning and prioritization. In addition, I've worked extensively in a coalition or multinational environment, so I have a great deal of experience working with diverse people and organizations and bringing them all together to focus on a mission and a goal. I did have one particular standout high visibility investigation. It was in the fall of 2016 in a multinational environment as the investigation lead for an errant bombing of Syrian troops to include the press and the aftermath that went with that. What I need to work on is an immersion in financial auditing and translating my military skills and experience to the civilian certifications needed for the job. I told the Accountability and Government Oversight Committee I would make this a priority and get that accomplished as soon as possible. I've studied and read the Albuquerque government public documents online to include the current budget. I've read the Green Book for Office of IGs and the standards there. And I've reviewed the last annual Albuquerque IG report from FY17. I agree with the last IG that resources and staffing challenges are a huge issue and put a premium on inspection planning and prioritization. And that education and community involvement or community engagement will also be key focus areas. Based on my experience, I also see an opportunity going forward. Opportunities to get more in a proactive role and to use a predictive approach, using trend analysis to focus limited resources on areas that need them, and using follow-up practices on areas that have been investigated to make sure that those things that need attention were indeed fixed. Madam President and councilors, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and take any questions you have.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. The final candidate we have here this evening is Kenneth Bramlett.
Good evening, Madam President, councilors. First thing I'd like to do is apologize for my appearance. I had some surgery back in December. I did not know it was going to be as extensive as it was, and I've not been out in public till today. Since then, I've been trying not to scare small children and some animals, so I apologize for that. But they tell me in about 6 weeks I'll be back to my ugly, normal self. So just to give you a little history, I'm sure that you have my resume, but I started my investigative career as a military policeman and a criminal investigator in the CID unit in the United States Marine Corps. From there, I went to the Cobb County Police Department in Marietta, Georgia, where I worked for 23 years, and I worked about every position that you can work there. I served as the commander of the Criminal Investigations Division, commander of Internal Affairs, the deputy commander of the Marietta Cobb Smyrna Narcotics Unit, and was a on-scene commander, and was also responsible for writing policy at the police department. Also served in uniform as a watch commander, and retired from the Cobb County Police Department and went to the state of Georgia. Was asked by the governor there to help set up a investigative division in the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, which is the entity in the state of Georgia that investigates all certified, certificated teachers and administrators in the state of Georgia. So I got that set up and I worked there, and then I was asked to be what was then called the Director of Investigations for the Georgia Department of Human Resources, which was a mega state agency that had Department of Aging, Department of Public Health, Family and Children's Services, and several other attached agencies that we had oversight over to do investigations into wrongdoing by employees, to also look at and investigate public assistance fraud and food stamps, sometimes now known as SNAP, where we became a leader in the Southeastern Division, which we got in writing from the Food and Drug Administration. Well, they wouldn't put into writing, but they told us we were a national lead, the national leader in investigations and the number of claims that were turned over for prosecution and the monies collected back to the state of Georgia. So after serving there, I was asked to go to our state Office of Vital Records. They had some issues there. I had conducted an investigation there. I was asked to go there and serve as the state registrar and to help clean that up, and we had to clean up some problems that were there, got that straightened out. I was then asked to go and be the Inspector General for the Georgia Department of Public Health, which had previously been under the Department of Human Resources. And what I meant to say for the Department of Human Resources, when I was there as the Director of Investigations, that was prior to there being such a thing as an Inspector General. That position now is Inspector General. They changed the title. In all of those positions with the state of Georgia, except for Vital Records, I was also over an audit division. I am not an auditor. I know enough about audits to be pretty dangerous. When I left, retired from the state and went to Los Angeles to work for the school district there, the Los Angeles Unified School District, where I was the Inspector General. I also served with the Council of Great City Schools, and there I was asked to co-chair and did co-chair the writing of a white paper on internal auditing for the Great City Schools, which has become the standard for schools across the country. So I do know about audits, although my forte and my main experience is investigations. We had a number of large investigations in Los Angeles, as we did when I was with the state of Georgia. We've done a number of large investigations, as well as some huge audits, and returned millions of dollars back to Los Angeles and millions of dollars back to the state of Georgia. I have a master's degree in public administration. I have a bachelor's degree in management. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy, the 162nd session. I'm a graduate of the Georgia Law Enforcement Command College. I was selected for and had the honor of serving as a member of the 10th International Law Enforcement Delegation to the State of Israel, where I got to go to Israel and study the tactics and methods that the Israeli police use. I am a certified Inspector General. I am a certified fraud investigator, a certified board advisor, and I've also been elected by my peers to serve on the board of the National Board of the Association of Inspectors General. I have a lot of experience conducting investigations and audits, both for cities, counties, and states. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know no one in Albuquerque, so I have no loyalties to anybody. Same way when I went to California, I didn't know anybody there, so sometimes that's a good thing because you don't have any preconceived notions or loyalties or anything such as that. My wife said she would love to be in Albuquerque in this area. It's one area of the country we haven't explored. I came through here, spent a little while in December the 1st and got caught in a big snowstorm that I was trying to drive through here. So I do know about your snow. We don't have too much of that in Atlanta, in North Georgia. But I would be truly honored to serve as your Inspector General. I appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So while the staff, if the council will vote now in the order that I had described earlier, and then give the staff time to tally the results, I will move to table OC 20. There's a motion and a second to table OC 20. All those in favor say yes.
Madam President.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we will go to...
Madam President,
Oh,
can I
I'm
make
sorry,
a comment? You know, this is a really big decision we're making on the inspector, very, very important decision. And, you know, we did receive their resumes, but this is, so we're listening to them speak and we're making a decision immediately. And I don't know if anybody has a problem with maybe thinking about this for a little bit and really vetting them a little bit. I'm a little concerned about just hearing them, seeing the resume, and then voting on it tonight. And I don't know if anybody else has that concern or not, but I wanted to voice it. Thank you.
It doesn't appear that anyone else has that concern. Councilor Sanchez?
Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to first thank the committee for their work. They've done a diligent job in bringing 3 candidates forward that are all qualified for this position. And I want to thank the 3 candidates for applying for this position. I'm not sure if there was any questions from the council to the candidates. If there is, I think we can address it at this time. If not, we can basically go to a vote.
Councilor Borrego and then Councilor Winter.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I kind of share Councilor Winter's concern. Specifically, the issue of, I mean, I think these are all fine people that have applied and they have outstanding, criteria and backgrounds. But one thing that I don't see, and I don't know how to ask this question, I guess, is there a writing sample that we can look at? I think I would feel a little more comfortable if I could see something like that. Just the Inspector General has an audit responsibility, and I think it just behooves us a little bit to kind of look at things that maybe the committee already did look at those things. I don't know, but I'm kind of a little uncomfortable.
Councilor Winter, followed by Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I might join Councilor Winter in that, and not that I discount the work of the AGO. I think they've done exactly what the ordinance contemplates. But I do want to say, I think this is our first meeting after a series of holidays, many of us just returning to work in the last few days and getting a chance to jump into this year's first agenda. I'd like the opportunity, as we've had in the past, to schedule opportunities to meet with or speak with them. I certainly wouldn't ask Mr. Bramlett to come back, but certainly a phone call or just to follow up and perhaps review more of their resumes, or perhaps to learn more from AGO about how the final scores. I don't see any harm in that. I'm not aware of any exigent reason we need to do this today. And in the past, I know we spent a lot of time deferring these until we had a chance to review. But in light of the holiday and the chance for us to really dig in, I don't see a harm in 2 weeks deferral on this. And if we bring this back off the table, I'd like to propose that motion.
Councilor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. And I tell you what, I am very impressed with. We have 3 quality candidates. That's what makes it so hard. Very impressed. And I think all the years I've been here, this is the first time I've seen really 3 quality candidates that I am just meeting and see them, and I just think I'd like a little more time.
Councillor Harris.
Thank you, and I could understand wanting to have more time, but the problem is I don't think there's really, unless we were all to interview them independently, and some people are here from out of state, I think that would be tough. And also, one of the concerns about like writing samples and things like that is if you don't actually have them do it kind of in your presence, writing samples can be something that someone can whip off a good writing sample in a half hour, and someone will take 4 hours, and you can't tell who wrote it and how long it took just by looking at the sample. So I'm just prepared to make my best call based on the information that we have. I think that's probably the best thing to do right now.
Madam President, can I go ahead and try to make a motion for a 2-week deferral?
Sure.
Madam President.
There's a motion.
Madam
for a 2-week
President.
defer.
Because the item was just tabled, we'll need a motion to remove it from the table and then make a motion to defer, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to untable OC 20.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to untable 20, OC 20. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. You mean? Yeah. That was unanimous. Thank you. So, Councillor Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. Because we have such 3 great quality candidates, and it's a very, very important job for the city, I make a motion for a 2-week deferral. Thank you.
There's a motion and a second for a 2-week deferral. Before we go on to the vote, I just want to say that I won't be supporting the deferral. I just think that, the due diligence has been done. I think it really puts some of these candidates at a disadvantage. And when we're talking about meeting with somebody independently, I know through the HR process, it kind of can create some issues with that. And I just really think that, we've had our packets ahead of time, and we had an opportunity to review the applicants, and if we had any questions or anything, we should have probably maybe come prepared this evening to ask those questions of the candidates while they're all here and present. So there's a motion and a second to defer OC 20. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no? No. I think you need a hand. What are we? Show of hands for no. No, you were a yes.
Okay, I like to defer, so.
Okay, so the motion to defer for 2 weeks passes on a 5-4. Did you get all the votes? Okay.
And Madam President, I know that some are traveling, and I'm not sure if, if we need to speak to them again, but I think it gives us the opportunity to reach out to them. Stephanie, is that?
Yes, Madam President and councilors, I can certainly contact Mr. Perea. He's the chairman of the AGO committee, and get the information we need to contact the candidates, and also ask the AGO questions about what their selection process was.
Thank you, Ms. Yara. Next, we will move on to item 14, final actions.
One more
Oh,
thing.
I'm sorry, Councilor Harris.
In terms of this vote, I mean, we had the 3 candidates that were here. I think one of the candidates came from California, and the other 2, I guess, live here. But
I'm not sure. I know one of them lives here.
but I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to
Both of them live here.
to have them come back if one of them, that could be unfair to somebody who's not planning. I'm not sure. Yeah. So in terms of, are we gonna expect these candidates to all come back here and speak again 2 weeks?
I guess that's a decision for the council. I wouldn't expect for them to return.
Okay.
Councilor Gibson?
Thanks.
Yes, I think, in all fairness, I think that asking them to come back might be a little bit more than what we really need to have happen. But it might be nice to have their phone numbers so that if we do have questions, that we can give them a call.
I'm sure we can get those from the staff.
Right.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'm a member of the AGO committee. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So we can't do that right now, can we, after we voted on the deferral?
Madam President, no, we've already, the council's already deferred the item. Also, I don't know if you're all prepared to ask the questions of the AGO member tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, appreciate it.
Madam President, I got the feeling what she's saying is that we can call her if we want to. Is that, was the offer to come up here and answer questions or answer questions later?
Either way.
Either way, okay. Well, yeah, please give us your phone number, give staff our phone number, your phone number, so we can reach out if we think that's a good idea.
Thank you all for being here this evening, we really appreciate it. And good luck. Next, we are on final actions. Item 14, we have Councilor Winter, 03.
Thank you, Madam President. This is O-18-3, amending the municipal solid waste collections disposal rate table to incorporate residential rate decreases in the rate appendix. So before I make a motion, I want to hear the plan from the administration. So Mr. Rael or Mr. Whalen, and I'd have a few questions.
Madam Chair, Council. You want to hear the plan? Oh, the plan? Well, we've already released, as we've stated before, this was a multifaceted project that was all going to take place at the Edith site. What we've done is our new plan has deconstructed that into the transfer station being located not at the Edith location, but at another location that we've already identified 2 possible locations that we're in the process of vetting out based on the study that we had. As well as continuing with the Edith location maintenance facility and then building a maintenance facility at the Sierra Colorado landfill to house some of our West Side fleet.
Okay, I know you all have done a lot of work on that. It's very much appreciated. So there are just 2 questions that I have. What is the timeline and how are you going to take public input on the site after you determine the final site?
Madam Chair, Councilor Winters, the timeline is we've been moving forward as quickly as possible. We've already held a meeting for the Edith site. We go out to RFP for the West Side location this month, and then making the decision for our transfer station site is going to be based on the FAA approval as we go forward, as they look at our plans and our intentions for one of the sites. Once we receive that, then we can go forward with having public comment, but we'll follow the normal policies and procedures of purchasing and do as many meetings as are required. I know one thing that we will possibly look into is accessing and using social media as well to get a wide variety of public input.
Thank you, Madam President. So, and what did you say the timeline would be?
Madam Chair, Councilor Winters, it'll be within the next year as far as when we'll have to apply for permitting and those kind of things at the transfer station location. The other 2 locations, we would just continue to move forward in the normal process. As I said, the West Side location is already going out to RFP, so that process has started.
Okay. Madam President, that's the last question. If anybody else has any other questions.
Councilor Winter. Yeah, you're done? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. And just of course, the Edith site was in District 2, and the proposed 2 sites south of downtown are in, or south of the Big I guess we could call it, are in District 2. So I stand ready to help in any way I can with outreach to the neighborhoods, and I'm sure you know that, Director. And but this type of activity, I think you've chosen some good candidates, but this type of activity is always going to generate some raised eyebrows, and so we appreciate your wanting to go through proper process, but I offer help in any way I can to do outreach. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Councilor Benton, we appreciate that, and we look forward to working with council as well as neighborhood associations on this project.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councilor Benton. Councilor Winter.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, I'll move for a withdrawal.
Second.
There's a motion, a second for withdrawal of 03. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we are on item C, R96. Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. R96 is amending the adopted capital implementation program of the City of Albuquerque by supplementing current appropriations for an affordable housing development project within the boundaries of the West Central Metropolitan Redevelopment Area and directing the mayor to execute the related development agreement. I move approval.
Second. And I have an amendment.
This would be amendment, floor amendment number 1. It's on page 1, line 16, strike the term 8 and replace with the term 6. This is an amendment to a whereas clause to correct the number of additional live-work units that will be developed as part of the Nuevo Atrisco project through separate non-city financing from 8 to 6.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for amendment number 1. All those in favor?
Madam Secretary?
Oh,
Or Madam President, sorry. I have a question, please.
yes, sure.
Is this a correction because it was incorrect, or a correction because the number is changing from 8 to 6 for other reasons?
It's a correction because it was incorrect.
And was it 6 on the original proposal?
It's my understanding that it was. We actually have someone from Yes Housing here to speak.
Hi, my name is Thaddeus Lucero. I'm Senior Vice President for Yes Housing. The original submittal did have 8 units, but in our process that we had to go through for our finance and everything, we had to drop it down to 6 in order for us to make those number of units work. The 6 units are actually going to be financed through Yes Housing by itself. They're not going to be workforce affordable housing. They're actually units that we're hoping to actually rent out. So our initial proposal, Councilor, did have 6. When we went through our revision of our budget, we realized that we could only finance 6 of those units for live-work units.
Madam President.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you. And Mr. Lucero, the 8, from 8 to 6, does not affect the amount that the city is paying in NRs?
Madam President, Councilor Jones, no, it does not.
It only, if I may, Madam President, it only
Councilor Jones.
affects the amount that will be financed by the developers themselves.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Davis.
Thanks. Mr. Lucero, thanks for being here with us. Thanks for clarifying. I know this is a last-minute amendment to some of us, so I just want to clarify where we go with this. Originally, this project was submitted with 8 units. How were those originally, those were originally financed by Yes Housing, independent of public financing, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Madam President, Mr. Lucero,
Councilor Davis.
what you're telling us now is that we're asking the city to step up more money for the project, and the developer is proposing to reduce the number of live-work units on their proportional side, right? And I'm just trying to clarify how, if this passes tonight, how those two different questions sort of reconcile. Is the Yes Housing proposing to put $2 million less in and the city is putting $2 million more in, or are those different components of the same project?
Madam President, Councilor Davis, the answer to that question is that the live-work units are 100% financed through Yes Housing. The number of subsidies that we got from the city is for infrastructure development of the full site.
Right.
So none of the money that we're asking for today is going to be going toward the development of the apartment complex. The money is going to be used for the development of the plaza and the other public utility work that needs to be done for the site.
Thank you, Mr. Lucero, and I apologize. One more follow-up. I support, as we've talked about, I support the supporting making this project work, and I support using some MRF funds. I want to be sure we get the money and the math right. Does changing the number of live-work units impact the pro forma on the number of, for instance, persons or economic impact of this project? So in other words, if we're going to build the plaza and the associated interest for this live-work project, but we have fewer people now because we have fewer units, I just want to be sure that if we're putting more public money into the public infrastructure side, that the private side is matching, is going to meet their obligation to be sure there's enough people to use it, if that makes sense. I don't want to send the project back to zero, but it's kind of a late, just a late Deus amendment for us really quickly. I want to be sure that we don't need to send this back for reconsideration on financing.
Mr. Lucero.
Madam President, Councilor, the simple answer is no, it will have, the public money is for, as you indicated, for public infrastructure, for the development of the project as a whole.
Counselor Benton.
Just a quick question, and I support the project. But are these live work, would these be called a market rate component of the project as opposed to subsidized rentals on the other ones?
Madam President, Counselor, yes.
Okay. So it's a little bit lesser percentage of market rate.
Yeah, for point of clarification, the live work units are specifically going to be targeted for individuals. Let me back up. When we first submitted the proposal, one of the things that we met with was the South Valley Economic Development Center. Most of you know who that group is. One of the biggest challenges that they have is finding areas where individuals can take their businesses to that next level.
Right.
And a lot of the problems they have is when you get into large retail complexes, they make you sign, 2-year leases or whatever. So the intent of the live work units is actually to try to get individuals, for instance, a barbershop, for example, and they're going to have their shop on the first floor and then their apartment will be above. So the intent is to try to get young entrepreneurs a space to actually have their shop, but also a place to live, because both of those are growing needs in our community.
All right, thank you. And, the more the better, of course, of that type of mix. When we're doing mixed use and we're doing mixed income, generally we all agree it's better to have more of it. So, it's a little, understand that you've got to make your pro forma work, but just so for people who are listening and trying to understand what we're talking about here, it's, I'm going to support the change because I want the project to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second for the amendment. Oh, Counselor Borrego, sorry.
Madam President. So just so I understand, Mr. Lucero, the money that you're looking to now would be for infrastructure, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, see, this project is actually part of a larger master plan that was adopted almost 10 years ago, and it's really only starting to come to fruition at this point in time. And, I think back about Albuquerque High, where infrastructure money was, MR infrastructure money was used to help facilitate the development of that property. The other project that I think about, and I sort of relate this to, is the international market, where infrastructure money, MR money, was also used to facilitate the development of that property. So I'm very supportive of this property this project, because I think it's time that it's finally coming about, and I commend you and the way that you've structured it. I realize that there's a lot of old GO money that's been sitting in a pot waiting to be used, and I think it's high time that we move forward and complete this redevelopment project. So thank you for your vision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. We have a motion and a second for floor amendment number 1 to R 1896. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're back on the bill, and we have one person signed up to speak, and that is Mr. Tad Naminsky.
Thank you. My name is Ted Niemiecki. Well, I have so many, I'm sure a lot of people in Albuquerque would like to know how not-profit they are. Yes, housing. How appropriate name? Yes, housing. How not profit they are. Yes, they got state certification. I know that. Well, here is another, so many different issues goes together. Housing. I remember during John Kennedy, I was in Army at that time. I wasn't here, but I remember. And then shortly after, I lived in Chicago. I know what's happened to those housing. I know Hillary Clinton. I'm in Chicago. I remember Hillary Clinton make statement, I am not Democrat, I'm progressive. What I'm trying to say, socialist, communist, next. Yes, it is. I've been over there and I am here. I know what is coming here. All this housing, give me free. How many people on the street right now? Oh, anyway, let me explain it a little bit. They recruiting homeless people with low social security check. They pay 20, 30%, actually about 1/3, 30% from own pocket. Oh, well.
Thank you, Mr. Naminsky. I hope your questions were answered today when you came up to our office. Thank you. Now we are back on the bill, and I don't know if we have any additional questions from any of the counselors. Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you. I'd like to make a few closing remarks. The redevelopment on West Central has been going on for some time, and I want to thank you, Councilor Pena. You were at the time serving as the president of SWAN. Councilor Benton, I want to thank you. You represented the Southwest Mesa for a long time. And I think the Atrisco Nuevo project is going to be the anchor to what's going to happen in that area. You know, we've waited for a long time for the south side to develop. When the CVS pharmacy came in and we broke ground for the Unser development, I think Marty Chavez was still mayor at the time. So we've waited a long, long time. And residents of our community have waited a long time. And this MRA money goes all the way back to 2007, 9, 11, 13, 15, and 17. We've put money every year away for a major project, and we feel that the Nuevo Atrisco project will be the anchor for that community. It'll include retail development. It'll include a plaza, which we are looking forward to, and that's where part of that $2 million will go is to the plaza. And also the residential development. The city has just invested $5 million to redevelop the bus stop there. The new park and ride will be developed. We've got the Patrick J. Baca Library. We've got the dialysis center. We've got so much more. But I think this is the start in the right direction. We've worked a long time, but I think Nuevo Atrisco will be the anchor to helping the development across the street on the south side of the street. And I truly urge your support because we've worked so hard and so long, and the community is looking forward to Nuevo Atrisco. And I want to thank Yes Housing and Maestas Ward for being involved in this also. But it's taken a collaborative and a community effort, and I think together we'll see a great development occur once Nuevo Atrisco is completed.
Thank you, Councilor Sanchez, and we did close the floor. I just want to add too, I am a co-sponsor on this bill, but I just want to add, you know, doing the community work for so many years and knowing that on West Central we've had so many challenges and obstacles throughout the years in terms of the redevelopment efforts that we've tried to do, and everything that's really happened in that area. Although, you know, we have to really give kudos to the elected officials who have contributed to the projects, but many of the projects that have happened on West Central have all been community-led. You know, there's a lot of people out there in the community who have stuck to a vision throughout the years in hopes that we can revitalize the area and make sure that, you know, we have the same kind of economic prosperity that the rest of the city does. And I'm really excited, as Councilor Sanchez said, that we are moving forward with this project. I know when the RFP went out, there was only one respondent. It's taken a while to even get to where we're at today, but I really believe that this is going to be a catalyst for future development along West Central. So thank you, thank you. With that, we have a motion and a second for R96. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item we have is, well, it's actually now we're still on final actions. We're going back for the approvals for the Inspector General, but we're still on final actions 14. We have Councilor Winter, R109.
Thank you, Madam President. This is R-18-109, establishing a standard citywide policy and fee structure for renting space in city-owned community centers, senior centers, and multi-generational centers. And first, I'll start with a move a due pass and turn it over to the administration.
There's a motion second for a due pass. We will turn it over to the administration, but we do have one public speaker, and I think he may have left. Tad Naminsky. Is he here? Yeah, why don't we just have folks from the administration speak, and then we'll go to Mr. Tad Naminsky.
Madam President. Madam President, members of the council, Family Community Services Director Pierce and myself are here to be able to answer any questions. I'm excited to be able to present this information and have provided a detailed outline of the categories and how it relates to usage fees within the senior centers and the community centers as well. So we stand for any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for the administration? Hearing no questions, we'll move on to our public comment, and we have Mr. Tad Naminsky.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, here is something right from on the top with both printed city-owned senior centers. Of course, community centers too. Well, last time when I was here, Chief Operation Officer for City of Albuquerque made statement, this is public-owned community, especially senior citizen. Are you gonna take it? What you know, I'm just tired of breadwinner. Why don't you take it, your business and your wife business out from our city businesses?
Mr. Naminsky, can you address me, please?
That's my comment, my 2 minutes. So now, let's go to some detail. Also, public, not open to public. That is one category 2. At what? What's next? You're gonna tell them, seniors, today you can come because we have reserve? Yes, CUPs are for profit, and now all other senior citizens for profit and other, like community centers, etc., etc. One more thing, right here, also stating another government looks like a county, state, and federal, and Albuquerque Public Schools. And that is, this council, she was representing public school for years. We needed council representing people and not government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Naminsky. Next, we are under final actions. Item E, Councilor Benton, R113.
Madam President.
Oh, I'm sorry. I moved ahead. Councilor Winter.
Urge your support.
All those in favor of R109 say yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now we are on item E, Councilor Benton, R113.
Thank you, Madam President. I move I do pass on R113. This is the City of Albuquerque's project recommendations to the Mid-Regional Council of Governments for inclusion in the 2040 and 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plans and for consideration of federal funding in the proposed FY 2020 and FY 2025 Transportation Improvement Program for the Albuquerque Metropolitan Planning Area. I move I do pass. Thank you.
There's a motion and a second for R113. Is there anyone signed up to speak? No? Any questions from the administration? No? Well, Councilor Benton to close.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a procedural matter that the council typically needs to approve the city's tip, and that's what this is about. I just wanted to point out a couple of, there are quite a few capital projects, but there are also some important requests that are made in this bill where we are communicating to the New Mexico Department of Transportation concerns of the city. I just wanted to point out two that are important in my district. One is I-40 interchange at Rio Grande Boulevard. We are doing we have in place a complete streets plan for Rio Grande Boulevard, and we've had some really good discussions with the district engineer from NMDOT about the interchange there. Very complicated situation. If you're a West Side commuter, you're probably familiar with it. At rush hour, PM rush hour, it's a tough place to get through. And if you're a neighbor in the Duranes neighborhood or the near North Valley or West Old Town neighborhoods, you're affected by the backups there as well. So there's a lot more traffic going through that interchange, northbound to westbound typically, but other times of day as well. But primarily northbound and southbound on Rio Grande trying to get onto I-40 to get across the river. And we've got to improve the capacity in some way. We've made some suggestions on that, and they're being considered by NMDOT. And the other one is sound walls for the west side of Interstate 25 in the South Broadway neighborhood. It's been a long-standing request of that neighborhood for the entire time that I've represented the neighborhood. It's been 13 years now, so it's a great opportunity now that the NMDOT is working on a South I-25 plan to finally get those sound walls in place adjacent to South Broadway. And they're not really just sound walls, too. I mean, there have been occasions when cars have gone right over the embankment and into people's yards and houses. So it's more than just a sound wall, but primarily, technically anyway, that's what those projects are. So I do urge the councilor's support for this.
Thank you, Councilor Breton. There's a motion and a second for R113. All those in favor say yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. There being no further business, this City Council meeting is adjourned.